Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Books and Betches, not to be confused with Books and
Kakadu itches.
I'm Kristen, and with me I have
Relevant. That came to me.
No, honestly, I'm very proud of you because the last couple episodes you dropped the ball, but I think you're back.
That was relevant.
Came to me.
It was relevant.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just going to tell you what book we're doing first. Switch it up a little bit. This week, we're talking...
Kakadu.
This week, we're talking about the book Lost in Kakadu
by Kendall Talbot.
It's definitely
Or
Australian.
Talbot. I don't know.
It's definitely Talbot.
Maybe.
Talbot.
She could be French.
Yeah, I don't know.
A French Australian?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that weird?
Look at Zena just getting on the couch. It's her house.
Zena's here, our lovely. We haven't talked about Zena in a
Is Zena
while. Relevant.
Yeah, I know.
Zena's mentioned in this book.
Zena the Warrior Princess is mentioned in this book, and I got very excited. It's the only reason why it has 3 stars.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what is the genre?
This
Survival
romance?
I guess.
Survival
I don't-
romance. We just make up our own genre. I mean, I like it.
I mean,
I definitely think
contemporary
it's survival.
romance, cultural Australia. Yeah, adventure survival.
Adventure
Yeah.
survival.
So you guys didn't make
romance.
anything up.
Okay.
Romantic
Romance.
suspense. Chicklet.
Yeah.
It's pretty chiclety.
I can see Nora Roberts writing this book.
This book sucked.
This book, Lost in Kakadu. Erica, why did you bring this to us? Because it was you that brought this to us.
I
know why.
I've been wanting to read it.
Oh.
Because it's like a little bit different than what I would normally read.
And then I mentioned that I wanted to read something that was survivalist because we've been watching Naked and Afraid a lot. And I'm always wondering why they don't fall in love on Naked and Afraid.
Let's talk about Naked and Afraid for a minute because this is a really funny thing that happened. Erica, for a while, was randomly talking about Naked and Afraid. You would bring it up. You know what it was? You mentioned the girl that shit in the water and it contaminated their... Before I get too deep,
water.
What episode is that?
Before I get too deep, we
there's so
swear,
many.
we
Oh, yeah.
spoil, and we talk about sex. We're going to spoil this book. We're going to swear. We're going to do all the things I just said. Erica was talking about an episode of Naked and Afraid where the girl shit in the water.
What season is that? I want to get on that.
I don't know, but
I'm at season 5.
well, I don't remember why you brought it up, but somehow that came up in normal conversation. She was like, "Oh my God, there's this girl on Naked and Afraid that shit in their own water source."
I have no idea.
And they both got really
Dumb
sick,
bitch.
right? Didn't they both like get sick?
What dummy?
Yeah, they did.
Rule number 1.
She
away
shit
from the camp.
upstream too. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it was really stupid. There's a lot of stupid people on Naked and
I
Afraid.
thought she was a survivalist.
So
they have different varying degrees of survivalism.
well, that's where it started
Her
from.
PSR is probably
PSR,
4.2.
yeah. I've seen some pretty bad PSRs.
Wow, we are
in
so
my day.
into it. And then I got Hulu Live. I was
Yeah.
really excited about it, so I was like, I gotta test this out. The first thing that came up was Naked and Afraid, and I was like, oh my God, Erica talked about this show, and I got so fucking
Hooked.
into it. Hooked.
You get hooked into
Hook,
it.
line, and
Me
sinker.
and John have like
That's a
gone
book.
through. We've been dating for what, like 7 years or something like that.
You're
we've
married now.
gone,
You're not dating
or
anymore.
whatever. You know what I mean? But we've gone through cycles where we get obsessed with Naked and Afraid, and then we're like,
So that's me and Mike.
and then we get
Yeah.
obsessed with Bar Rescue, and then we go, like
I
it's like
keep seeing TikToks about Bar Rescue, and I kind of want to like watch it because I haven't.
You've never seen
I've
it?
only seen.
That's pretty good.
clips.
Well, okay, so then me and Mike got really into it, and I was texting Maria during a lot of it, and I was like, "You have to watch. It's so
You
weird."
just kept mentioning it.
because it was
it's such a weird idea.
But
to
I
survive
started-
naked in like a random location.
well, I started with XL. Like we watched XL before we watched.
And I think that's even better to get into because it's a whole group of people.
It was
instead of
awesome.
one
It's
of
a
two.
different it's like a different type of episode.
So watch Naked and Afraid if you haven't yet. But then that led to now Maria's obsession.
I've
binged the first season
So-
in like a day, and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, she's in."
So when I have a very
Hook, line,
I
sinker.
have a very obsessive personality, and in all senses. If there's a food I like, I will have it at nauseum. Like I have to have it
I
over and
feel
over
that.
and over again until I get like sick that one day, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't anymore. Same with TV. I have to go through my binge moment and then I'll get over for a little while and then I'll come back. So she kept talking about Naked and Afraid, and I said, well, I don't want to start it when it's already so established. I want to go back to the beginning. So I went to
Smart.
season 1, and at this point I'm at season 5, almost close to 6. I watched one season of XL in the middle of all it because you kept talking about XL.
The drama.
I had to. And now it's a thing where that's like my comfort show. So remember when I was talking about the mental health episode where my mental health shows was Bad Girls Club?
Yeah.
Well, I've I binged it.
Yep.
Have no more to go on. So now Naked and Afraid is my mental health show.
So yeah, I mean, we're all
Naked
in.
and Afraid's a better mental health show than Bad Girls Club.
I agree.
Listen, when the world ends, I know what to do.
Yeah, kinda.
I know
Yeah,
what to do.
you get some like survival
You
skills.
get some great.
Yeah.
So we had gone on a hike, you and I, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like that big mountain.
Yeah.
It wasn't Manana.
No, Musalak.
Mussolini. So
She makes her own names for these
I made all
mountains.
mountain names. So we had passed by this water thing through the rocks, and you told me I could drink it, so I drank out of it, and we had a whole moment, right?
That was Monadnock.
No.
Yeah, the water out of the rocks is Monadnock.
We had it on both.
Okay.
Anyway, so when I'm watching the show, I realized
it
the
filters?
water.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, I could have died because I was drinking the water.
No,
from
that was natural
but
spring water.
I understood later.
Yeah,
Then I
yeah.
learned later
Yeah.
that the rocks
to
have
be
a mineral
fair,
that filter it.
To be fair, if a deer shit right in that water
I
before
would
we
have been
drank
fucked.
it, yeah, it would have made us
Yeah.
sick for sure. You should always filter your water no matter where you're getting
Yeah,
it
I know,
from.
but I'm just saying, I learned a lot.
Unless
It's crazy.
pre-filtered.
It's crazy to like see on Naked and Afraid how much they like boil water. And
Yeah.
they're
You
like,
have to.
we have to boil the water. We have to
Honestly,
always
I
have
would
the
do it
water.
every time,
Even
if
the
it looked-
cleanest looking water.
could have something in it.
So when we were talking about Lost in Kakadu and you brought it up, we were all like, this is the perfect bridge
Yeah.
between Naked and Afraid, our obsession, and Lost, and a book that we could read.
Yeah.
I didn't know it'd be so bad, but
I didn't either.
none of us knew going into
Honestly,
it. And it's won
I didn't think
awards.
it was gonna be
It's got
great.
like
It's
a
won
4-star
awards. That's what I
rating.
mean.
Yeah.
So don't go off of what we're saying. Like, this is our own opinion. You might like it.
well, it's at-
4.2 is a very
but
high
out
rating.
of 1,400 ratings.
But that's still
It
pretty
wasn't
good.
enough for it to be a rage read. This was not the worst book that I've read, but I just
Romantic
didn't
book
care
of the
for it.
year.
What?
I don't think it was that, like, the actual story and how it like their romance and all of that, like, I don't think it was terrible. What I hated about it was certain things that they said or did.
Yeah.
Or like there was just certain moments that I hated along the way.
Me too. Let's get into this.
But I don't think the plot, I didn't
Who's
hate the
doing
plot.
it?
Honestly, I think Erica might need to do this one because then you could do Breaking Dawn and I could do Creature Cafe.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Sounds fair.
Is that
sounds
fair?
Pretty fair.
I think that's fair.
That's pretty fair.
Okay.
If you're new here, we do this thing on our podcast where we attempt to explain the entire plot summary of a book in 60 seconds or less. This week, again, I know last week Erica did it, but this week Erica's doing it again.
Listen, Erica
You're
went
welcome.
a lot of months not doing that many of them.
That is true. You are
don't
like
know how I
catching
like
back
that.
up. So I don't know. Maybe you should do the next 3 too. All right. Erica, you ready to explain Lost in Kakadu?
Sure.
Got this.
Sure. Do you know the names?
Yeah, Abigail
Abby
and Mackenzie.
And Mackenzie. Wow, that was good. Okay.
I just read it.
Oh. Fucking cheater. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Abigail is on vacation with her husband, who she fucking hates, and Mackenzie is with his boyfriend, fiance. I don't know. They're whatever. And of a reporter. I really wasn't clear on what the reasoning for the other people were, but I also read it pretty quickly. Anyways, their plane crashes, right? And they're in the middle of Kakadu, Australia, which is apparently
National park.
a tropical rainforest type thing, whatever. So they're at the plane crash. Everyone dies except them and this other dude that they eventually find who's old as shit and like writes really sad letters to his daughter that his like wife didn't let her whole life. And
15 seconds.
Abigail and Mackenzie, like, Abigail's the worst person on this fucking earth and Mackenzie's not, and they like have this weird friendship
5
and
seconds.
they survive the wilderness together and they eventually walk
3,
out of Kakadu.
2,
I want to
1.
highlight the fact that they
Game
walked
over.
out of the rainforest eventually while
Oh, I
she
don't
was
remember the end.
pregnant.
I don't remember the end.
That's how she got there.
The end.
That's how they got out.
They walked. They kept walking. They got caught. They got found by these
right.
Aboriginal people.
Right.
And then they take them. They wake up one day. Then she wakes up in the hospital.
No,
and sort
no,
of
no.
like-
That's fine. How do you think those people in real life in the Andes that were eating the
Yeah.
other people, how do you think they got discovered? They walked out of the
Yeah,
Andes.
they walked out.
And an
Were any of them
Aboriginal
9
person.
months pregnant?
Yeah, she was pregnant.
No, they were surviving on eating people. They had people jerky with them.
Spoiler alert! Another pregnancy trope.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
this
Let's
was
get into this.
Oh my god. There was-
Let's get into this.
There was a lot of problems in this book, and the number one problem, where all the problems surrounded around the problem, was the fucking main female character.
Horrible.
Sucks.
She was horrible.
hands down one of the worst female characters I've ever read, and they tried to give her the redemption,
but she was so terrible.
I don't think you could redeem how she was.
I don't think we saw it.
Unredeemable.
I don't think we saw it. I think so long story short on her, she's sort of like a socialite. And she is very much like has to have her nails done, has to have her hair done, has to have her nice heels on. She's never seen like non-prim and proper. She comes from like super rich people, privileged as fuck. And
only knows white straight people.
Only knows
That's
what. So Mackenzie is bi, and so his partner is on the plane with him. Rodney passes away. But in the sense of this, Abby starts realizing, like, you're gay? He's like, yeah, have you not met gay people? She goes, no. And I'm like,
It was
asinine.
the worst interaction I've ever read in a book.
And these two people fall in love. Okay, let's start from the beginning. So the reason they're going into the Kakadu National Park is they're all different types of people. Like that older dude is looking for a flower. There's a reporter that's going. They're all going to the park for a different reason. Mm-hmm. But they're on a private plane.
A dingy tour guide plane.
Yeah.
And before they even get on the plane, Abby sees the pilot sort of arguing with somebody else, and she has a fear of flying. Kristen has a fear of flying, we understand that part of her, and she tries to tell Spencer, which is her husband, who's a cheating bastard apparently.
You called that Spencer was gonna say. You said the only way
she could have done that is because someone has to be bad.
But before we started reading this book and we read the premise, I was like, oh, two people. You were like, there has to be that they hate their partners already.
Yeah.
So like you called that happening. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I read it, I was like, okay, we already knew this. Yeah. So yeah, she tries to tell Spencer that something's wrong
with the plane.
Not for nothing, Mackenzie got over Rodney real quick.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Being his one big love.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
8 months is a pretty short time of me,
ma'am.
So she expresses that she's nervous. Spencer doesn't give a fuck. They get on the plane and somebody sees something and they're like, oh, that was a really cool thing. And they're like, we'll fly back and show. Fuck.
Well, let me turn around and show you guys again. If you look to your left.
If you look to your left, like being a tour guide, right? And when they turned, something happened with the plane. It probably stalled out and they crashed. The plane crash was written, it was fine. There was a line where she said that she released a breath she didn't know she was holding, and I said, I'll give it a pass. She's literally crashing in a plane. It would probably happen.
And it said she let out a breath she'd been holding. She knew about it, though.
That's fair.
She knew she was holding her breath.
That would happen.
I think that's a fair sentence.
That's fine. Though I don't know that I would realize that in the moment. Like I'd be more focused on the plane crashing. However,
my problem with the mechanics of the plane crash was I didn't understand where the fucking plane crashed and settled. So like
it crashed through the trees.
I know we were in the trees, but how far up from the trees? Because
you're right.
During the story, they kind of acted like it was their little house.
You're right.
And that like they were just walking up some steps to get into their house.
And there was two parts.
It's split in half. So one part of it is on this side.
Yeah.
The other part's the tail end is on that side.
Yes.
Bodies in both.
Yes. There's bodies everywhere.
And then like
yes.
Not for nothing, and I guess I don't know how I would act during this scenario.
I know,
but
how
I think I would check the pulses.
Yeah.
So
I think I wouldn't just look or take a gander around the plane and go, everybody's dead.
I like how she looks at Spencer. She's like, he's dead.
Yeah.
Well,
literally.
Okay, who's next? They're dead too.
There was no sadness.
He's dead. The cameraman, he's dead.
She was just like,
This is very true. Nobody.
This was an exact reenactment of what happened. And then she just goes, I'm hungry.
This is honestly, yes.
And then 20 days later, she's like, my daughter might be worried about me. I forgot about her.
The fucking worst thing to me, aside from her being a terrible mom, is the makeup. That she puts on makeup daily in the middle of this forest. She's blacking on makeup to a dirty ass face. Bitch,
her husband is dead. Yep. Her husband is dead. She's in the middle of the rainforest. She's with a stranger that she doesn't know, and she is popping on a little layer of foundation.
Full face of makeup. Wearing heels
the same day that her father
I pictured Sandra Bullock in the rainforest from
Sandra
Lost City.
Still
no, but
still
when
beautiful.
She was running around with that was literally what I pictured.
Oh, like the sequins like jumpsuit?
Yeah. And she had heels on to begin with.
Yeah.
But okay.
It was like that, except like choosing to wear that.
Yes. So after they crash, Abby and Mackenzie discover they're the only ones alive. As Erica said, they didn't really do their due diligence of checking, but they just assumed they were the only ones alive. So now they have to survive. And Abigail was like, Spencer was like so well known, so we're gonna get rescued really soon.
Like tomorrow.
And,
don't worry.
and Abigail and Spencer have a kid, a daughter. She's what, like 15 or
she's 15,
14 or 15?
She's 15.
And like we knew that because she dropped them off at the airport. So immediately she doesn't even think about the daughter for like we don't even think.
Also, the daughter sucks.
Yeah, the daughter's a piece of shit.
Crystal's a piece of shit.
So Abigail and Mackenzie are now surviving in the woods. This is where our Naked and Afraid.
No.
Mackenzie's a chef, by the way.
What?
Mackenzie's a chef.
Oh yeah, he's a chef.
I need to circle back on the fact that they've just left the dead bodies in that place.
Well, that's how they start. They didn't know what to do.
started.
I mean, what would you?
I would immediately move them.
No,
that's the thing.
No, you wouldn't.
Mackenzie at first, so they're sort of like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? They think they're gonna get rescued right away.
Yeah.
Then Mackenzie's like, we're gonna have to do something about these bodies. Like, we
Which
have
I
to.
agree.
Yeah.
You wait for a day or two.
That's
and then
what they did.
Okay, that's
whatever.
what they did.
Abigail with her prim ass was like, I don't want to touch them. Like, I
So
don't.
he like delayed it a little
So
bit.
he delayed it a little bit more. So then they
They
started like
smelling.
But in my head, I don't know how long it takes for a body to smell, but that would be my
quickly.
Yeah,
would be
like
my
a week.
first fucking thing. That would be like, I need my shelter to not smell
wouldn't
like dead
be near the
people.
plane.
I was thinking so they used the materials, right? Mackenzie, I don't know how he was able to take apart this plane.
Yeah,
but
by himself.
He used the materials from the plane to make their shelter and make their like beds and shit. I'm like, those chairs have blood in them.
Yeah.
I doubt they're leather.
Yeah. I don't think I would be anywhere near the plane after it crashed. First, I would be like, this is going to explode. Second, I would be like, I don't want to be anywhere near this traumatic thing that just happened to me. Like, let's go find water. My first thing would be, let's go find water, which they didn't do because they had water from
There
the
was
plane.
no concern whatsoever about the dead people at any point in time.
Well, eventually,
When they buried them.
they buried them.
Did no type of ritual, no type of like.
I mean, they're worried about their survival.
They skipped ahead.
But they're worried
used
about
Crystal
their-
and then skipped ahead.
So anyway, the way they're surviving,
It was fucking terribly
the way
done.
that they're surviving, this is where our Naked and Afraid stuff comes in play. Mackenzie discovers there's beans. That was the loudest
That was
gulp.
a loud gulp.
Sorry.
Mackenzie discovers there's beans on the plane.
Yeah, he
So they're
goes
like-
into like the compartment and he finds some kind of food that they had.
So they had food. They got water from like the fucking bathroom somehow.
toilet.
The
That was
toilet.
smart, yeah.
That was smart. But that's not a way to live. Like it took them so long to
Oh, and there
move
was
out of that
flour
area.
also. There's flour
yeah,
on the
flour, which
So,
was weird.
Again,
rather
I don't know
than
if he
flour
was
on the
a
plane.
cargo plane taking also like provisions and stuff,
Yeah.
but there was flour. And to me, I found it weird how Mackenzie got all chef-like, making like fucking bread and shit. I was like, I don't know if that's...
Where's the yeast?
That's what I thought. I'm like, I don't know how to make bread, but that doesn't sound right.
No, that didn't make any sense.
How are you making bread?
But this whole thing too, like the reason the plane was going down and everything going on, they discovered there was a whole bunch of marijuana on the plane, like pounds of it.
Which I understand the drug aspect of it. I don't understand the marijuana carrying because that seems like really like silly and stupid. I wished it was like
Cocaine.
I wished it was cocaine because I think that makes the most sense.
Agreed.
Or like a harder drug, like a whatever.
Cocaine would have made the most sense.
Cocaine's usually when you get caught with drugs on a
bunch of
plane,
cocaine.
it's cocaine.
Yeah.
Because it's the hardest to get.
I
Blah blah
wouldn't
blah.
know.
Whatever. You can grow marijuana anywhere.
Yeah,
So it
true.
doesn't make sense for it to be
Exactly.
getting exported.
Yeah.
But cocaine has to come from a cocaine plant, which is only grown in certain areas and blah blah blah. Whatever.
Colombia.
Well, they treated
Colombia.
this marijuana like it was
Like a
meth.
They
bomb.
treated it like it was
Like
black
a
tar
C4
heroin.
Yeah.
bomb.
Like it was black tar heroin, and they were going to fucking die if they touched
If they even
it.
touched it.
Yeah, so they were like, "Why don't we burn it? Because then, first of all, that would be hella fun, and also you have something that
No,
could burn
let's talk
easily."
about first how they just left it there. Like, I don't want to have that. I don't touch that at all.
They mentioned the
He
authorities.
didn't want her to touch it.
Yeah, he was like, "What if the
I don't want you to
authorities
touch
come?"
this or see it or even be in the same area of it. Like, I'm sorry, how old are you?
It's so bad. Okay.
But yeah, then he was concerned that like the people who were buying
I
it were
found
going to come in.
I found when they discovered the marijuana. Okay,
Go.
He discovered it first, and she said, "What else is in there?" Abigail jolted him back to the present. "You don't want to know," he whispered to himself. "Oh no!
You
Not
don't
the
wanna
Mary
know.
Jane, the dreaded marijuana!" You don't want to know. So that is what we're dealing with here. This is what we're dealing with here,
Essentially,
folks.
Mackenzie was trying to do this thing like from Lord of the Flies, where they had to have a signal fire. He wanted to have a fire going at all times.
Best way to do that is burn a shit ton of marijuana, bro.
So that's when I think the rain happened.
Yeah.
They had nothing dry to like kindle for fire.
So then they had to use
So they had to use the marijuana.
Yeah, they eventually
Not for
did.
nothing, they would have. The scene that was missing from this was their stone scene.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
why was that not
The
added?
what?
Like
Them
for
being
them
stoned.
for them to have like burned that much marijuana.
Oh,
That
like-
would have been so fun and like cute.
Yeah, it would have been a cute scene where you guys
Yeah.
are like, oh, we don't realize that we're high and like
Yes.
whatever. Like it could have been fun and funny
Yeah,
and like
no.
a moment for their bonding.
weren't
Like they're,
funny.
No.
but like either this author is a stick in the fucking
That's
mud,
what I think it is.
or like has never smoked marijuana. I like
Okay.
you would have been contact high too.
So the whole point of this book was the romance. And going into it, so we have this guy who, first, we don't know he's bisexual at first. We only know he has a partner, Rodney.
So we
And
assume he's gay at first.
And she and Abigail even says, "Oh, you're gay" or whatever. Like Abigail mentions how she doesn't have any gay friends or doesn't know anybody that's gay.
I 56% in, I highlight this. She goes, "What do you know about love? You're gay."
Whoa.
Dude,
That was the
Dude.
weirdest
What the
sentence I've
fuck?
ever read.
And that's halfway ththrough the book. So in
I was
my
like,
head,
this
I
chick was gonna
said,
make it easy
she
for
should have
us.
already been past the fact that he's gay.
but not even
At
that.
56%, we're already starting to get some kind of like connection between. We should have at least.
But
Well,
no,
so
we should
why
have
would
had
you
some
say that?
character development for her. Like she
No,
was
no, no,
on
no,
the
no, no.
road of like still being better.
I was so confused. I said, okay, this isn't going to be the romance. That was my thought. Then there was this guy, Charlie, who is found. And it's like, okay, we get a point of view from him for a second where it's like he stumbles to the back of the plane. And I'm like, oh my God, one other person's alive. I was like, oh, that's
thought
the
we were
love.
gonna-
I said, that's the love interest. That's the guy that's still
That's
alive.
what I thought too.
And then they were like, he's really old. And I was like, okay, so she's either going to date the gay guy or the really old guy. I was like, I don't know where we're going with this.
I didn't either.
And then like suddenly Abigail and Mackenzie started like getting kind of along, and Mackenzie's just a saint and he's dealing
He's
with
a
her.
sweet guy.
And
For him to listen to what she has said
Yeah.
and have the personality she has and still like be okay with her
Yeah.
is weird to me.
So how did the romance how did that happen? Because
they just
all
like
of a
slowly
sudden
became
it
friends.
sprinkled a bunch of weird things of like I have one like a beautiful, confident, albeit naive woman. He rolled his eyes at her and smiled, blinking when the tears that blurred her vision. She nodded. So it's like there were small moments that were thrown in of her being like his eyes, they're so green,
Yeah.
and then
It
he's
was
like her
bad.
hair, it's
It was
so.
bad.
And then he
blonde.
randomly mentions like, no, I have been with women, so we now know he's bisexual.
And then she kept calling him gay.
Yeah. And there was no moment where he had that moment where he was like, stop, or like, like there was no moment where she realized that wasn't okay.
No.
But he kept moving forward with
There
her.
was no like these characters. He was a pussy,
Yeah.
to put it lightly,
Yes.
because like if somebody said that to me, like how do you know what love is? I would have been like, fuck you, like.
Yeah.
I would've
And I
been
don't know if I
you know
would have
what?
ever moved
Cook your
on.
own bread. I'm
I
done.
don't know if I would have moved on from that
No.
without a conversation
Yes.
that like showed some type of growth.
Yeah.
These
and-
characters lacked all depth.
And he was in
Emo-
love.
all emotional depth, and the fact that like it was so blatantly homophobic for no reason.
Yeah.
Like
He
there was
was-
no reason for that to be
He
that
was
homophobic.
in love with Rodney, in love with him,
Like,
and
he just kept crying.
died.
I
And
will
then all of a
say-
sudden he was okay with this girl.
Well, yeah, I will say that like the timeline I felt was more realistic. I was thinking that it was going to be a very short like timeline,
Yeah.
and it was like a year.
it's a lot of months.
It was like 9 months.
Yeah,
I still don't think that's realistic. That
no,
he
I
would
think
have
it was
fallen in love
longer
with
than
her.
that.
in
I
9
think it
months.
was longer.
It was
than
longer.
that.
It's like a year and a half.
She had the baby, so
Yeah, 6 months in,
they were not.
then
fucking yet.
then she got pregnant after 6 months.
So
So, it was
they-
like
It went from like them kind of starting to become friends to then all of a sudden every 5 minutes it was like, baby, hey babe,
Babe,
oh my god,
all
babe.
day.
Like I say babe a lot, but that was driving me fucking
So
nuts.
one of the biggest things for me in this whole thing, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it honestly like needled me to my core, is nobody had a bathing suit.
Like packed a bathing suit.
Like she didn't pack
Yeah.
a bathing suit.
That is weird.
Yeah.
So they were always swimming naked.
Yeah, and I was like, you didn't pack this bitch. Didn't pack one fucking bathing suit.
Right? I didn't think
Nobody
of that.
had a snack in their bag. When I go on a plane, like the
Also,
items,
Erica's offended.
Also, but
the
also
items that were
she-
not used.
She makes a great point because they not only had their own bags, they had everybody else's bags.
Yeah.
Nobody
You
had a
could've found
snack.
somebody.
Nobody had. I always travel with granola bars or like something on an airplane. I have a bag of Tootsie Rolls. I have
I always thought I
Goldfish,
wasn't allowed to
have-
bring food on a plane.
There was whiskey.
Yeah, there was rum.
Which is
it's a
the one
private
thing that you
plane.
wouldn't be able to fucking
No.
bring on a
It's
plane.
a private tour plane. They don't go
No,
through
I know,
security.
but that's like the one thing that
I
you
know.
wouldn't bring on a plane is
I know.
is like literally alcohol is a federal crime to bring on a plane.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Ooh.
So Charlie, the other character that was alive for a moment that we get towards the beginning of the book, who
I
survived.
feel so sad for Charlie.
What was his purpose as a character?
So he
just to give them
To
his
give
book?
her something to fucking read.
Well, he was looking for a
plant.
it's sort of antioxidant kind of thing, or the antioxidant, right?
Yeah.
Which would help with a certain kind of disease. That's why his whole purpose was to find these flowers that are in the Kakadu,
Right.
to bring back to create this kind of thing. And unfortunately, he dies.
And he dies. So it's like he's alive. He gives them the book that explains like the plant or whatever, and then he dies. I'm like, so his soul, they couldn't just go in the plane and had found that stuff. Like they had to actually.
I don't know why
That
he
character was
like-
so
and then
useless.
use his letters to have her basically reading his
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
He has a daughter and an ex-wife, and the ex-wife will not let him see his kid.
Was that
The
like
ex-
her own
the
for
ex-
her
idea?
no,
entire life.
The ex-wife cheated on him,
Yeah.
and then decided that the
She's-
kid was, which like riddle me that. I don't know what the hell.
But was that his-
divorce lawyer Charlie got, but clearly didn't like do well.
That was probably used as her awakening to like, oh my
Yeah,
daughter.
she was like seeing the parallels between her and her daughter, but the daughter was such a fucking afterthought that I actually think that they talked about the weed more than the daughter.
Yep.
And then there was a point where they're like, we got to get out of here. She's like, I don't know if I want to go back to my life.
Yeah.
Like, I want to stay
Yeah.
in the woods forever.
Yeah.
And I was like, so you hate your daughter too? Okay, that's
Yeah, I don't
great.
want to hear
The
shit about you and your
worst
kid
mom ever.
she shouldn't
Yeah.
have had one.
No.
She should not have. There should not have been a daughter included in the plot. It
I
was
thought at
pointless.
first that she was the stepmom.
Actually,
Yes.
the daughter really was pointless in the whole book.
She was.
There was no
point.
reason
There
to
was
have
no,
her.
It added absolutely nothing to the plot.
Yeah.
and it didn't add anything to her character
She
development.
was just used to skip time jump.
How did it end? The whole thing.
They
I
got
know you said they
saved.
walked out.
They
but
got
like,
kept
saved.
walking.
but she got pregnant. They have sex. She gets pregnant.
Yes.
Was she pretty
they,
far along?
They
They were
decide that
close-
they have to leave because
She's
that's right.
6
Okay.
months.
I remember this
And
now.
then they
There's a
find
cave.
her
Oh,
about
yeah,
3
yeah.
weeks before she's due.
Who finds them?
The Aboriginal people
the
driving.
Aboriginal people. Yeah,
They got far enough to where, so they got this abandoned
mining
town.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Then they kept walking down the street just as she's like passing out and he's passing out because they'll have no more water. Magically, car comes over with the lights and picks him up and takes him.
I think she took that from that woman that crashed in the Amazon. That ended up having to walk. I talked about this in the past, but had to walk down the river and found like a hut, used
They
gasoline
basically-
to get the maggots out of her arm, and then like somebody
interesting.
saved her. That's like a real thing that
It
happened.
was a ridiculous amount of walking time because
Yeah.
it seemed to me like they could have just walked that like if they just started walking
From the day one.
from day one they would have been
Made
home.
it.
But it's like going to
a
the
year
extraction
before.
point in Naked and Afraid. That was the whole thing I pictured. I was like, okay, I'm picturing them
It's an
without
extraction.
shoes.
I have a moment from this that's pure Naked and Afraid. You ready? You're not eating those, are you? Of course. Can't let good food go to waste. But how do you know they're safe? Only one way to tell. I guess we'll know in a couple of hours.
Yes.
Mackenzie, don't be stupid. They could kill you. Oddly, he was at ease with the situation. I'll only eat a couple. At the very worst, I'll get sick, maybe have some nasty toilet trips, but I don't think I'll die. There's always
That
one
was-
that
that was
tempts
Naked
that.
and Dried.
That is full on Naked and Afraid of
Yes.
one's like, listen, we're thirsty. It's day 2. I need water. I'm gonna go drink from the stream. And she's like, I don't know, man.
And then they always
then
get
you
sick.
cut to the confessional. He went to drink the pot, and I don't know if that's good because we could die from that. And then cut back. I don't know. It's kind of good. A little nutty, but it's kind of good.
and then the girl is like, he's gonna leave me out here by
Yes.
myself. Like it's like
I don't know
always-
what kind of survivalist skills he has because that's survivalism 101. Don't drink the water without purifying it.
All right, Erica, go through your notes because you're getting into them. And I'm
So, one of the things that I thought was interesting was the caterpillar that bit him. So they're like,
oh yeah,
they're out and they're like in the middle of their walk,
A
basically.
couple caterpillars bit him.
And they're sleeping, and a couple caterpillars bite them. Which, like, not for nothing, I probably would have brought some material to make a hammock.
yeah. or anything.
They had
Anything-
they had a
anything to
net.
not-
Did they have a
They
net?
were using a hammock. They had the cargo net. They were using that as a
I
hammock.
thought they were sleeping on the ground.
When they reached areas where they couldn't, where they had no trees to put it on,
Oh.
they didn't put it up. But they had hammock moments.
So the caterpillars bite him.
He
and
almost
then
dies.
He gets really, really sick. That actually happened in Naked and Afraid. I
Oh,
don't know if
really?
you- yeah. One episode.
I can't wait to get these episodes.
It's I think it's in an X. Honestly I think it's in XL. Where a girl gets bit by a caterpillar and the whole team, like the production team, starts
Stops down.
freaking out.
Oh, no.
Because there were some caterpillars in that area that were like deadly.
Oh,
So they
no.
like didn't know what to
Imagine
do.
dying from a caterpillar.
And then everyone was like,
Shitty
"Did you
death.
see what color it was? Did you see what color it was?" And it was like this big fucking thing. And she got really. I think. I don't remember if it was a girl. I think it was a girl. Got really, really sick from it, but I don't think she didn't end up dying. But there's been a couple people on Naked Afraid that have like almost died.
Yeah,
Like
I think
literally
3.
almost died.
I think only 3 though, and one of them was the producer of the show who got bit by a snake while he was scouting
episode
a location.
1. That's
literally,
the freaking pilot.
as they were scouting a location for the pilot.
That's the pilot, and they
He
showed
got
his
bit by a
foot.
snake.
They showed his foot. All the operation, you could see down to the bone, bro.
Yep.
There was one girl that after like she got sick on like whatever Naked and Afraid and went home, but 6 months later she was still
that
like
that woman is one of the ones that really actually almost died.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few, but a lot of people have written articles about how staged and
I think
it's a reality show.
The more I
Yeah.
watch it, the more staged it feels.
It's definitely
like,
staged.
For example, yesterday I was watching an episode, and it was I think they're in Panama, on the beach in Panama, and they were like, "Oh, this ground here is moist. We should dig to get a well." They have only a pot to dig this hole. I wish you could see the hole that they dug was like 6 feet deep.
Wow.
Within a day or two, I'm like, there's no way you got a perfect hole like that.
Yeah.
In 2 days from a pot.
I mean, that's what they did in Lost in Kakadu.
And I think that was
dig
literally
their hole?
someone dug it for him.
What they use in Kakadu? Was it a plate?
yeah
He used parts
of the airplane.
Oh, he kept bringing seats out. I just want to know how he got to just.
So then
You know what bothered me? So it's her birthday,
Oh yeah.
right?
and made a fucking
Salon.
He wants to make a cake.
Oh yeah.
A cake, really? You could do that? It wouldn't be my best, of course, but I could give it a go.
where's the sugar?
And I'm like, you're surviving in the wilderness. How a cake isn't practical. That's not a practical thing to make.
Where's the sugar?
I did like the fact that he like washed her hair as part of her birthday gift.
Yeah.
Because
should have just stopped there.
feels so good. But a cake doesn't make any fucking sense.
The
It was the worst love story I've ever read.
There was the one thing that I thought was funny was when she was like refusing to eat something and then she was like, "Oh, I'd eat frog legs."
I need frog legs.
Yeah.
The romance was really bad. I didn't feel that connection at
Nope.
all. I think it was completely unrealistic.
You know what it felt like at first to me?
Huh.
I think I might have mentioned this to you on the side. The fact that because halfway through we thought he was just still gay, we didn't know he was bi. I was like, this feels like a corrective thing. Like,
Yes.
let's try to fix you from being gay.
Yes.
And that
it felt
bothered me.
fucked up. And
That
I think
bothered
I
me
messaged
so
you that
much.
too.
I think we talked about it, you
Yeah,
and I on
I
the
was like,
side.
this feels really wrong
Yeah.
in every way, shape, and
Like,
form.
not only are you homophobic, but now you're trying to fix him.
Yeah.
It's
Like, how did that get...
I don't understand how people read this book and didn't feel
Agree.
that way.
I agree. I agree.
Even like
Please,
even if-
everybody
I
go
don't
read
know.
this book and let us know what you
Don't.
think.
Just don't, actually. Don't even read it. We read it
No,
for you.
I was
Yeah,
I was
true.
like personally offended by
No,
how
I agree.
homophobic it was.
I know. I totally agree. It was
I,
really
I,
to the-
couldn't-
good.
I
to the
couldn't root
point-
for her. I
to
want
the-
her to die.
Yeah,
to
me
the
too.
point where like I thought about emailing the author and being like, I don't really understand why this is in here. Like,
Yeah.
I think you should reconsider. Like,
Well, that's the other
taking
thing. There
this
was
out.
no reason to have it in there because she didn't have a redemption for the like her
all.
homophobia.
So I've talked about this before. Ruby Dixon, like in the first Ice Planet, there was a rape scene with the aliens that like one of the aliens ended up like raping one of the girls. And Ruby Dixon, once like Ice Planet got pretty popular, she was like, I don't know why I wrote this in, but it didn't make sense. Like, I'm taking it out.
wow.
And she took that
Love
that
that.
part
That is cool,
out.
yeah.
You can make a mistake and adjust yourself later.
Yeah.
Like to me, the blatant and like disgusting homophobia in this did not do anything. It was a plot device to make the character more hateable, but it didn't redeem itself. So it didn't make it. Even if it did redeem itself, it wasn't. I don't think there was enough. Of anything that could have redeemed what she said.
I agree.
So it's like, why? Like maybe the first one I go okay, like whatever, but the second one, and then it was just.
I
like,
shouldn't be seeing that kind of characteristic so far into the book.
Yeah.
56.
You should be fixing that.
Ugh, all right.
I mean, if there's one thing that I like cannot stand in a book, it's like it's racism and homophobia.
I
like
agree.
blatant racism and homophobia.
It's really hard to read. Okay, so if you have any recommendations for survival, I kind of want to do another survivalist book.
I think
good.
so. I would love to.
I'd be down, but it's just like
it has to have sex in it.
Does it?
No, I'm just.
I'd be down, but like there needs to be. Oh, that's what I want to talk about before we go.
What?
The whole reason there's no romance and stuff in Naked and Afraid, and there's a whole article about this. When you're in a survival situation, your libido is like as low as it could possibly be
because you have no food.
Think about it. The last thing you're thinking about when you're surviving is sex.
Yeah,
it's completely.
But I'm not asking for the sex part.
No. I hear you, but they were having like a decent amount of sex while they were out there, and like they were like, "Oh, my nipples are hard," and this and that. I'm like, I wouldn't even think about sex in that moment. I'd be like, I need water. I need to fucking eat.
I think
I need
that
to
point,
it
survive.
burns too many calories.
You're not in like survival mode. You're just like in like your baseline. You baseline back.
Back to the marijuana real quick.
no.
I'm sorry. Okay, but this bothered me because like when the cops. When she gets like when they get found, the cops come and talk to her and Mackenzie, being like, they said, "What did you do with the marijuana?" And
they were so concerned about the marijuana.
I was like, so you're not gonna ask about the crash itself, like what happened on the plane,
fucking people that are dead,
the people that are dead.
What did you do with the bodies?
Like where are they buried? No, you're gonna ask where's the marijuana.
It's fucking pot.
And not for nothing, if they were asking me that, I'd be like, I smoked it all. What are you gonna do?
Well, they said we burned it, and they're like, so you burned it? You sure?
Yeah.
You sure you burned it?
What?
As if like, and honestly,
I've been gone for a year and a half.
Actually, when was this written though?
I was gonna check.
2014, I think.
No,
maybe?
it was republished in 2014, I think.
Okay, so it was written before pot was legal.
Hold on. Let's find out.
When was pot legalized in California?
Oh no, you're right. I think 2014 was when it was first published. 2013 first published.
Okay, so pot didn't become legal in California until 2016. So I think like this was before pot was legal.
But again,
I know it doesn't matter, trust me. But like if they had made it not marijuana, maybe it would have been more if it was cocaine or like fucking heroin.
Yeah.
It would have been made more sense.
I'm sorry, I'm bouncing a lot right now. The other thing I got was a kind of annoying to me was that Mackenzie got everything pretty easy. Like animals would just like walk up to him. There was more than once where it was mentioned like the kangaroo didn't realize it was coming towards him and it like bounced and then he killed it. And like that's very easy in the middle. Like you're not a hunter, you're a chef. She already comes butchered to you.
It's weird. All right. If anybody has any recommendations for some good survival type books, it doesn't have to be romance. It could be romance, whatever you want. Send them over. I'm curious. Maybe we'll do a survival month. Maybe not. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Get ready because next we'll be doing either Breaking Dawn or Creature Cafe 3, one of those two. Make sure you read them. And head on over to our Instagram. That's books_n_betches, BETCHES. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can watch this podcast. That's exciting.
Watch the mess.
You can watch it on Spotify too. So just, do all the things
if you wanna, whatever.
if you want to. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.